Hi, this is Janie from the League-Kempner House in Galveston, Texas. Sorry to jump right in without context, but it's been several weeks since we've done a lot of heavy-duty work at the house, and Ricardo was back for a few days, and you know how he is. He doesn't mess around, so the minute these guys got on site, they were working. I hardly had time to set my camera up. I had a bunch of junk to unload from my car, and before I even finished, these guys had done this, so I missed recording the demolition. Every day I'm here, I commit to getting everything on video for you guys, and every day I fail miserably. These guys are just too quick. This was what one of you guys called the Hobbit door, so that's what I've been calling it. It's pretty short. I'm sure it was taller at some point, but when the island was raised and the ground floor filled in, the door got cut shorter, just like all the other ground floor doors. And to make matters even worse, it has that solid half-round piece at the top. I'm not a very tall person, but even I have to stoop really low to get in this door, and it is our primary access into the basement. We've been struggling with this door for 2 years. I can't tell you how many times I have whacked my head because I forgot to duck or I didn't duck low enough. I think I even knocked myself out once, so it's been a big problem. In hindsight, I don't know why we waited so long to take this door out and fix it, but today's the day. The brick arch above the door had failed, just like all the other brick arches in the house, and it had to be replaced and repaired. So we're going to try to improve this and make it a little bit taller now that we have the chance. This is going to be the main entry into one of the apartments and to a shared utility room. So we need a full height door here to make it safe and convenient for people to come in and out. Getting the door off proved to be more difficult than demolishing the brick arch above. The frame of the door was set into the brick with these huge, big half-inch bolts that went way into the brick, and the nuts were rusted, so it was hard to get the frame off. The door itself was just junky old plywood that we've been screwing shut over and over and over. It's very deteriorated and hardly anything left, but that frame proved just a little hard to get off there. They can just take that whole thing out. Yeah, let's just take that whole thing out completely. And then instead of doing a door like that with the arch over it, we can put the door, we can put the door back here to make this like a little vestibule area so that we can do the door square. But we might have to pour a step. We might have to take out a little bit of this. With the major demolition done, Ricardo set up 2 sets of scaffolding, one inside and one outside. In addition to Ricardo, Juan, the other mason, is here today. So they're going to tag team this project and work from both sides at once. I missed getting it on video, but they also built a plywood form for the arch, just like we did when repairing the front porch. The sides of the door need to be built up a little bit higher because we're raising where that arch is going to be. So Ricardo and Juan did a little bit more cleanup and demo to get the door ready for the form. As usual, everybody works all the time. These guys never sit around, and nobody ever just stands and watches someone else work. These guys work seamlessly together. Mortar needs to be prepared, and Juan and Ricardo need a continuous supply of bricks so that they can work without interruption. Just like they always do, if a brick can be saved and reused, we'll do it. That means using the small chipping hammer to remove any old mortar and get the bricks cleaned up. The goal is always to keep the house as original as we can, and that means reusing all of the original material that we can from the demolition, if it's in good enough shape to use. If not, we buy antique brick of the same style, something authentic from the period to put in its place. And we still have a little bit of that Cedar Bayou brick left that we were able to score early on in this process. Ricardo came and got me to consult about the arch. You can see over Juan's head in the background that once the arch for the door was removed, it revealed another arch. This arch is for the floor above. This arch is actually flatter than the arch that was over the door. We went back and forth about what to do, but finally decided to match the arch of the door to that arch of the floor. First of all, it eliminates kind of an awkward transition from having two different arches back to back. It also makes the door a little bit easier to frame. When you're working on a project like this, sometimes you have what you think is a great plan, but then as things progress, like the demolition in this case, it becomes obvious that minor or sometimes even major adjustments need to be made. This was more of a little minor tweaking to the plan. Once that decision was made, a couple of modifications had to take place. The sides of the doors needed to be built up, and the form needed to be remade to match the new arch radius. I went to check on one of our volunteers, Sherry, who was working in the greenhouse. The greenhouse has been a disaster. She's done a fantastic job. We're having a work day to get ready for our work day.
Good morning, everybody.
Wow.
This is going to be such a beautiful greenhouse when it's all restored.
You leave her alone for 30 minutes and look what she did. We have a floor.
And the vision. Oh my gosh, orchids. Can you see orchids in here and plumerias?
And when I came back, the guys had already finished building up the sides of the door. So they started disassembling the original form to cut down the plywood to the shape of the new arch and rebuild the form. It didn't take them long to knock this out. With all the practice they got from building the forms for the arches on the front porch, this was a piece of cake for them. They've gotten very proficient at building these things and getting them installed. This one is small, it's pretty straightforward, so it was a very quick form to build. And then it was time to get it in place, which is a little bit more difficult, to get everything level and set just the way it needs to be and get it secured so that it can actually support the weight of the bricks that are going to be put on top of it. You don't want the form shifting or falling once you start laying the bricks, so it's got to be pretty secure. And as you could guess, Ricardo is very, very particular, so he takes his time and really makes sure that he likes the way it's positioned and secured. This is a small arch with just a couple of rows of bricks above it, so it will be in before you know it. I went back to visit with Sherry and see what she was up to. She didn't like the fact that our gutter was hanging off the side of the greenhouse, so she improvised a way to pick it up, and I admit, it does look nicer. Little gutter repair work going on. She's multi-talented.
It's too pretty to just let hang crazily. Ta-da!
When I got back, I climbed up on the porch and decided to get a different view of the guys working. You get a much different perspective when you watch them from above. Sadly, all that demolition created another big brick pile. It is so frustrating since we just cleaned all that huge brick pile up with the skid steer and hauled that off. Ricardo's gotten a new big cargo van, so he decided he wanted to try to haul the bricks to the dump site. We all pitched in and started loading up the bricks, and even with so many, it takes a while to load by hand. What that skid steer could have just loaded in a matter of seconds. But we got it all in there, and it was too crowded for everybody to go and unload, so Ricardo and Richard left to do that, and Juan tackled the missing bricks on the curb that the city just put in when they did the sidewalk and the driveway work. We don't have exact matching bricks to the original brick curb, but we're going to do some fudging and some blending and some more work along the side here to kind of get the old and the new to not be so obvious. I thought it was better to have the bricks and have them not quite match what was there originally versus just having plain, bright new concrete curbs on either side of the driveway. I was shocked when just minutes after Ricardo and Richard left, they came back. Couldn't believe they had unloaded so fast, but unfortunately, disaster had struck. The brick dump site that we normally use was so full that it closed, and the van was loaded with a ton or more bricks, and we had nowhere to take it. I got on the phone and was frantically searching for another dump site. I happened to find one, and they had just closed for the day, but they were so nice. They offered to go back and open the gates and let us in since we had a small load in the grand scheme of how big their dump site is, and let us unload it today. So I was really grateful for how kind they were. So we headed off to the new dump site, and I didn't even try to film us unloading because it was all hands on deck since we didn't want to hold up the yard worker from getting home. He had already ended his shift and was staying there late for us. So we scrambled and got the van unloaded and got back. By the time we got back, it was almost time to call it a day, and I went to find my Ricardo to-do list so we could talk about the work that we needed to do tomorrow. By the time I found my list and got back, these guys had already started a new project. No matter how hard they worked, unless I remember to say, let's quit early today or let's pack up, they find something else and start working on it until the clock strikes 5. I tried to get them to stop and finish tomorrow, but they already had the ladder up and they wanted to finish, so they kept working on removing all the plywood from the sun porch. I've wanted to get this house cleaned up from the outside for a long time, and one of the last things that needs to be done is getting all that plywood down, at least off the first floor windows. We can't get them all off the ground floor until we get the ground floor windows repaired, but getting them off the first floor has made a huge difference in how this house looks from the street. It just looks much nicer. These last pieces were a little difficult to reach because the iron balcony was not in good shape. I know I wouldn't want to stand on it, and actually while they were up there working, a couple of pieces broke off. Okay, now you're scaring me. so I was a little bit nervous. It's not easy to handle a full sheet of plywood when you have to work off a ladder. It's even harder when you're standing leaning off the side of a ladder and not having a second person up there to help you. But they got it off and it looks great. It's much brighter and lighter on the inside when that sun comes through that sun porch. So I was glad to get it done. So that wrapped up another very productive and fun day with Ricardo and his crew. We usually do find something to laugh about during the course of the day, but I'm not sure we would have been laughing today if we hadn't found a place to unload those bricks. But all's well that ends well. The work here is picking back up at the League-Kempner House, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Those curved windows are going in soon, and you don't want to miss that. And we will also be starting on some more major roof work soon. So check out our website, League-KempnerHouse.org, where you can make a donation, sign up to be a volunteer, or schedule a tour of the house. You can follow along on Facebook and Instagram too. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to meeting you in person someday here on sunny Galveston Isle at the League-Kempner House. Look, it's barely visible, but there it is. My lucky penny for today.